How's it going, everybody? And welcome to another installment of YouTube Ask Me Anything. Before I get in, excuse me, before I get into any of the comments, questions, things like that, I wanted to talk a little bit about something I've got in the works for YouTube content, workbook content, things like that moving forward. And this is just I look at the analytics on YouTube quite frequently, almost on a daily basis. And the one thing that has been striking to me is that I've done my best to try to critique, not cater, to create content that meets the requirements of the exam topics on several Cisco and VMware exams. And over time, I've had mixed success, and the success that I do have, it's hit or miss. It's usually, for example, if I created a series of videos for a particular platform or capability. So let's just take VMware NSX, for example. If I took out of, say, 40 videos specifically for NSX, of those 40 videos, I might get 2 or 3, it was less than 10%, of those videos would do better than, say, 300 or 400 views. And that's with putting a fair amount of time into descriptions and tagging and trying to do my best with search engine optimization for the video. And that's with looking on YouTube, how would you search for that particular video? And even going on to like Google and, okay, I want to look up a particular topic, I would find that my video wouldn't even, the videos on YouTube that I create for that particular topic wouldn't even be in the top page. Well, it wouldn't be near the top of the first page, nor would it be on the second, third, or fourth page, which is unfortunate because and I know there's a lot of really talented content creators out there that are creating content around Cisco, VMware, Palo Alto, Fortinet, so on and so forth, where I try to get YouTube, I won't say I try to reprogram the algorithm per se, but the YouTube algorithm isn't really designed for technical content creation. So over a period of time, my goal was to try to, just put a bunch of content out on YouTube and, see how it works. And so the effort that goes into that is it's time consuming, very time consuming. And I can't sit here and get angry when the videos just don't get a lot of views. It's niche, right? It's technical, it's networking. And so I've been thinking about the time and effort that goes into creating the content, and I'm like, what would be better? To keep them on YouTube for anyone to view, or would it make more sense that I don't put out the entire series on YouTube, but maybe I put out a couple of videos, a couple of videos out on YouTube as more of a, hey, if you like what you're seeing, come over here. So the thing that I've been thinking about the most is for those people that want to get access to the content that I create, the options that they have are YouTube channel, and they may or may not be able to click the join button to gain access to all the files and things like that. And then you have the Patreon that I created. And although Patreon has been rather successful with the workbook, it's been hit or miss for membership. Now, it's a very small percentage of people that can't access the members portion of YouTube depending on the country that they are coming from. And so that's why I created a Patreon tier for that. So my thought process to that is, okay, it's challenging for people to know that unless I create a video and give it a couple weeks, and that video is going to fall further and further down in the list of other content that I've created and get lost in the minutia. It's not going to stay present to any of you. So I was thinking to myself, okay, what could I do that would be more beneficial for the viewer to go when it comes to viewing the content and things like that. So I back probably, let me think here, was it 2017, between 7 and 8 years ago, I started my own training company, and it was called Rikers Island Training. Now don't try to Google that or go to the website because it no longer exists. I took it down in 2018, late 2018, when Rikers Island Training was actually acquired by another training company, which eventually became my future employer for a couple of years. So what I ended up doing was I put a lot of time and effort into Rikers Island Training, and there's actually a short, funny story to that. I was in a study group for a period of time that I'm no longer a part of, that a couple of the people in that study group were like, hey, when does Rikers Island go live? It was more of a joke than anything else, but it got me thinking, well, maybe I should create my own training company or training site and put all the stuff that I want to go do. Because there's, like, I put on my whiteboard. You guys can't see this because I don't pan the room with my whiteboard or my webcam. But, like, I've got a 3x4 maybe, 3x3.5, something like that, whiteboard. It's fairly sizable. It takes up a good portion of the wall. But the point of the whiteboard is for me to keep track of things. So it's kind of cluttered with a bunch of stuff right now for me to keep track of. But on there is a list of things. I was sitting here the other day thinking about, okay, if I was to go do a training website, what would I cover? And I've put a lot of time and effort into what would I want to do on it. So I brainstormed here one day for a little while. And so I wrote down all of the things that I would want to cover. If the ability was to cover them, was to be able to be done, I would cover the content. Yeah, again, I'm one of those type of people that I'll be a lifelong learner. So, fast forward 15 years from now when I'm in my mid 50s, then I will still be watching content, taking notes, learning how stuff works, and then producing my own content around it so that I could pass that information off and pay it forward. So, it's something I actually really enjoy doing. So what I have decided to go do is take the list of topics that are on the whiteboard that I'm looking at right now. I'm looking past the camera, and creating workbooks and video courses around that content so that everything that I create would be in one place, and it doesn't matter where you're coming from. You would be able to, for a small monthly charge, you would be able to access whatever content of mine that you happen to be following. And instead of me putting out, there was one guy that made a comment, it was a joke, he was messing with me, about how I just dropped 20 new videos for BGP. And so I was looking through the analytics of that, and of those 20 videos, maybe 2 or 3 of them did better than 200 views. So YouTube is really not the platform for me to be dumping a whole bunch of content on, unless you're specifically looking for that content on YouTube. And there's how many other content creators on YouTube? So there's a lot. So what I've just more than likely going to do is I am going to migrate a lot of that content. What's already on YouTube is already on YouTube. I'm not going to take anything away that's already out there. But what I am going to do instead is anything that I'm going to be producing in the future. And this is like once I have a chance to get the website launched, and it's going to take a while for that to happen. I'm actually in the middle of doing a domain transfer between 2 different hosting providers. And so I can start digging into the development of the website and stuff like that. So there's a lot of content that I plan on going through and producing, and it's going to be basically it's going to be creating a training site almost from the ground up, but it'll be a one-stop shop. So if you want to go check out a particular video, there will be always a link in the description. And the goal is anybody that is already a member of YouTube or Patreon or has already bought the book that I put out for Enterprise, you guys will come over for free. I won't charge any existing members that if you already have the book, specifically the book, you won't be charged to gain access to the book. And what I'm going to do is any workbooks that I create, which there are going to be several of them moving forward, because to me, a good training site is going to be a combination of workbooks as well as video on demand, technical breakdowns, and things like that. So that is my goal, is to put everything in one location, so that if you're like, well, I want to go, if I want to go watch service provider content, I can go to Rob's website because I know it's going to be thorough. And I'm writing a book around it. So I'll give you a quick sneak peek of what I'm doing here. So, for example, I'm scrolling up here so that there would be, let's see here, I'm doing stuff like this, where we've got a list of topics on the left here would be the navigation, and over here would be the configuration that you would go through in order to get this to work. So I'll be taking everything that's in this book, all these topics that you see here, that I'm going to be using in order to build out the service provider series. All of that would be workbook labs that I would build here. I still plan on having the book as you can pay the $50 one time, or whatever the service provider workbook comes out to be. It's probably going to be a little bit more than $50. I haven't figured out a price point yet because there's still a lot of work that goes into it. But my goal is to have all the workbooks available for purchase, but they'll be a one-time purchase, and you'll download them and they'll be yours. And then as time goes on, and there's my goal is the book will be a one-time purchase, and then if you buy the book, you'll automatically be added to if you buy the book outright, you'll automatically be added to a group that will be able to access workbook updates. And the reason why I'm doing it this way is because it's easier to add a web page to a website and either update the lab because it's either slightly incorrect, or because I added more content to the book and then it's on the web page already. And then anybody that pays the monthly fee will be able to access it, or those that have already bought the book will automatically be able to access that content, and they'll be good to go. The book will get you a one-time, if you buy a specific book, for example, Enterprise, then you'll be able to access the Enterprise workbook at any point in time. But if you haven't bought Service Provider yet, you could either pay the monthly fee plus get the videos and any other stuff that I go do. You'll be able to access that stuff, specifically Service Provider. So that's my goal, is to go forward with that. The book is done quite well. I forget how many copies I've got sold at this point. I think it's over 50. But the videos themselves are the part that it takes a lot of time and effort to build a lab and all that type of stuff, and then go through and put it up on YouTube for me to only get, sometimes 10 views, 20 views. And it's just like, wow, it took me half an hour to record, and 10 people watched it. So the squeeze isn't worth the juice. So, and if people want to watch it, then they'll be able to come over to the website. I'm not going to tell you what the name of the website is yet because I'm still going through the process of building it, but I will be anything from here on out. So basically from today moving forward, course like video that I record and release will be done through the website, where if you want to gain access to it, it'll be a small nominal monthly fee. I don't know what the monthly fee is going to be yet, but the idea is to put everything in one spot so that regardless of what you're trying to go after, whether it's the videos, the topology files in the videos, all of that will be, you pay one price and then you get access to everything. If you pay, let's say I'll throw out a number. If you pay $25 a month, you'll be able to get access to videos, workbooks, topology files, the whole 9 yards, and then you'll get access to everything. It'll be like an all access pass. So I don't believe in charging people, outrageous monthly prices. I want it to be relatively inexpensive for most people to go do, and the website will be continuously updated because everything will be going on it. So that is my game plan moving forward. So it doesn't really make sense to me to continue to push large video, not size, but the quantity of videos that I'm pushing out to YouTube. It doesn't make sense to push as hard as I've been pushing to try to get this stuff out because the views just aren't coming. So my goal was to have a whole bunch of videos out, but I'm 100 videos in maybe. That's how much it feels like. I haven't actually gone back and counted, but it just, there's the amount of views I'm getting, just to me, it's the numbers alone just tell me that the interest isn't there. So, however, what is interest, where there is interest, is doing the lives, doing the Ask Me Anythings, and stuff like that, specific topics, in answering questions, things like that. The interaction is definitely there. It's definitely gone up over time, and I still plan on releasing content on a regular basis. So YouTube won't be going away. It's just that the large course videos that you guys have seen in the past, those are going to go away because the interest doesn't seem to be there. And if there is interest, you know where you can go find them. And so I will be posting about all that type of stuff in the future once all the domain transfers and I can get the workbooks. So one of the big things I'll do first is take the enterprise workbook and I'll build that into the website. That'll be available to anybody that's already bought it, and you guys will be able to access that stuff right away. Service Provider, what I'm planning on doing for any of the other workbooks that I've created or gone through is that content will be put up on the website. Workbooks will be always done first, and then videos will follow suit after that. So I'm planning on re-recording the Enterprise series to change it up a little bit. It'll be instead of the video series everybody got for YouTube, it won't be one really big topology that I build everything around. It'll be focused on the workbook and the details around that and the technical breakdowns to how all those things work and stuff like that. So I still will probably do like lab specific stuff for, it'll be, I don't know, maybe 25 or 30 videos where we go through a big lab. Like, okay, here's a big topology and here's what we're going to go do and make it interactive. So you guys can, and probably do like a live where, go live for a couple of hours and you guys will interact with me, how to answer the questions. Maybe I turned it a Microsoft Teams call where you guys jump in and we do a voice call or Discord server, something like that. So it'll be interactive, but it'll be, for those of you that are more seriously geared towards a particular certification or want to dive into a technology or whatever the case might be, I have some ideas on how to make the YouTube channel itself more interactive, but the CCNA, the CCNP, CCIE, video courses that I've been putting out thus far, the views just aren't there. So if I'm going to be putting that time and effort into a video series, to me it doesn't make sense to put it on YouTube because the viewership just isn't there. I'd say, like I said, out of I think 100 videos on YouTube that I get, I think I might get upwards of 1,000 on a more popular type of topic. But the reality is just the 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 demand just isn't there. So so I figure, you know what, I will put it where if people want access to it, it'll be there. And over the website over time will be a work in progress, meaning it'll always be being updated. It'll give me something to always work on. So my goal is to go through and play around with a bunch of different technologies. So like I was meant to say this earlier, but the enterprise will be up there, service provider will be up there. I plan on going through and doing an update to SD-WAN, which I believe, what is EI up to now? I forgot what the additional resources. EI is up to 20.9. So it used to be 18.4. So I'm going to have to go and see what I can do about SD-WAN for all of that and do another video course on it for 20.9 and get that working. So that'll be something that I will focus on in the future to go through and stuff like that. So all that type of stuff will be going to a website, and then I will be releasing little bits, like a video or two for that course. I'll put on YouTube as more of a, hey, if you are interested in this, seems like something of interest to you, come on over here, and redirect you over to the website and go from there. Workbooks, the whole 9 yards, things like that. So that is what I'm working on. I'll be working on for the foreseeable future. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and answer some of these questions and get to the actual meat and taters of the Ask Me Anything. So one of the toughest topics in switching was VLAN's trunk access and how one port we can have access VLAN labeled yet still have a trunk port. How did you find this part in switching? One of the toughest topics in switching was VLAN's trunk access and how one port we can have an access VLAN labeled yet still can have trunk port. So you're going to have to give me some clarification on what you mean by that, where you would have a interface that would have a switch port access VLAN 10, but you'd also see switch port mode trunk. I think that's what you're asking, but it's a little, if I had to guess, that's where you're going with that. If that's the thing, and if you had like spanning tree port type trunk edge or port type edge for access ports, it's a spanning tree optimization specifically on that. The driver behind it, I really don't know. I'd have to go read the configuration guide and maybe a design guide. But I think that's what you're asking. I've never had a problem with it because I understand what it's trying to do. So I might not understand the exact syntax or what the exact command is attempting to do, but I understand how spanning tree port fast works. So that would be the piece that I would dig into, and I had to get more clarification from you on that. So if you could clarify that comment, I'd be like, yeah, for the VLAN trunk access, kind of like copy and paste your comment and gives me some clarification, because that's the only thing that I'm 90% sure that's what you mean. Great video and keep it up. Feedback: while you calculate your calculate a port, you include wireless in it. I mean, 120 port not required to provide 120 users a wireless access. Maybe 10 access points might satisfy the needs for the wireless users. I believe what matters for wireless is the building size and density of the users of an area. Then afterwards, properly designing the heat map, we can easily forecast port demand. On the other part is data and VoIP can share the port. It would make things very easy if the switch port is PoE for AP and IP phones. Yeah, you're 100% right. So I'm not a wireless engineer, so I have to go back and re-listen to that video and see if I just if my math just wasn't mathing, I guess there's, so if, Sarah, if you ever watch this video, I'm referring to you. If you don't know who Sarah is, don't worry about it. A lady I work with. Um, so you're absolutely right. So you wouldn't need 120 ports for 120 wireless users because the access point could handle like 25 or 30 APs or clients on an AP basis. And, if you're doing that many for 120 users, you only need what, 6, 7 access points? So you're absolutely right. Rob, do you have any network design book recommendations? I like to know design considerations as I touch tech. Um, so there's a bunch of different design books out there. There's one for the Cisco Certified Design Professional, which was the former CCDP back in the day. That's one thing. That's one that I would actually like to go grab. And then there's one by a buddy of mine. His name is Zig Zigga, and he wrote the CCDE V3 official certification guide. So if I was you, I would go read up on that. That's going to be a good one. The other one that I would recommend is Orhan Ergon. He's got a really good CCDE series that I'm currently working through. Very good stuff. Very interesting. As an older father of 2 young kids, I'm wondering how on earth you fit this all in. I've only gone as high as professional certs, so your hard work and dedication is inspiring, not to mention very helpful. Oh, I think you were talking about like, CCIE and stuff like that. It's just one of those things where, so actually, it's interesting you brought that up, and I'm wearing a corn shirt today in case anybody cared. Big metalhead. So the when I started studying for certifications back in 2011, 2012, when I really got serious with them, I actually had a really hard time explaining to the family why I needed so much time to myself. And at the time, the computer, it was like 10 years ago, 12 years ago, was actually down in the living room. And it's like, we had this like IKEA-like entertainment center, if you will, and the computer sat there. And so it was very, very difficult to study because, at the time, the bedroom that I'm in was one of my kids' rooms, and then the room that's adjacent to me was another kid's room. My bedroom is that way. So, with family being over or the kids are watching TV, I had to like wear headphones all the time and like put like a sheet of paper or something in the way so I wouldn't be able to watch the TV. And so I eventually ended up moving the computer down to the basement in the laundry room because I needed some dedicated quiet. That really didn't work out too well because there were still people coming and going as I was doing stuff. So eventually I ended up moving my desk to where it is right now, and it's been sitting here for probably, I don't know, it feels like forever. Probably 10 years? Was that what I said? Yeah, I was studying for my CCIE back then, so it was 10 years ago, if not a little bit longer. Um, so, speaking specifically to that, when the decision was made for me to go after my CCIE, and I bought my all access pass from INE back then, 12 years ago, to start digging into it, the 11 years ago, whatever it was. My wife was like, okay, well, I'm just going to start, you study. Like, we had to divide and conquer. So if my main goal was to spend as much time studying as I could, and then she would do the majority of the major things. So make sure the house is clean. She was a stay-at-home mom. I was very fortunate to make enough money at the time to where she didn't have to work and stuff like that. So over time, it was just, this is what I'm going to go. This is what I'm going to go do. And it was, if I didn't have the support, if I was a single father, for example, and I was having to deal with, transfer of kids between their mom and I, or something like that, where my time was dedicated, and my kids were younger at the time, but if I didn't have the flexibility, things would have been much more difficult and would have taken me a lot longer. But I had a goal, and I had the drive to do it. So nothing was really going to get in my way. I was going to go get it one way or the other. So, and it just took took me 3 attempts to pass, but it's just one of those things where it's prioritization of your time and your effort. That's really what it comes down to now, and everybody does things in their own way. So I won't say there's a right way or a wrong way, but you have to let everybody around you know what it is that you're getting yourself into, and then once they understand it, then they'll be able to help you along the way. So that's one of those things where you have to have buy-in. And as I get older and the kids get older, it's they're self-sufficient now. I got one that's 21, the other one's about to be 15. So they're pretty self-sufficient now. Back when they were, 3 and 9 and 4 and 10 and things like that, things were a little bit different where they still needed mom and dad. But now that they're all grown up, things are a lot different, and they kind of do their own thing. We just our job now is to steer the ship correctly and keep them on track. And if they get too far off the beaten path, it's to reel them back in and course correct. Maybe do a little bit of parenting, play the bad guy if you have to, and point them in the right direction. So now we're at the point in life where it's guidance, and you punish when you need to. So. But yeah, it's definitely having a support system is definitely a big thing. That's for sure. If I use the emulator EVE-NG, is it enough for labs? What's the difference if I used a Cerber and EVE Pro instead of just the COM version of EVE? The only difference I see between using Pro, Community, and Pro is you get containers with Pro, which I don't ever use, so I can't speak to that. Other than that, I know that they're there. And then the other thing would be, when you're looking at Community versus Pro, Pro allows you to add, on the fly, you can add new links between routers or devices. Where in Community, you have to power the device off, add a link, power the device back on, so it's a little bit of a time suck. So that's like the only other thing I could think of that at least that I use. There's probably more capabilities out there that are available that I don't take advantage of, but that's just what I use. How much time, years, would you say you would say to go to study CCNP enterprise level to CCIE service provider level? A lot. You're if you understand core IGP, OSPF, EIGRP, RIP, a little bit of RIP. I just know that it's out there and how to configure it, and do some verification. But if you're good with OSPF and EIGRP, like rock solid, so you know how to get them working and verify them, a strong CCNP enterprise when it comes to that, and you can stand up a very basic MPLS layer 3 VPN and use OSPF as the IGP with LDP, and then you want to transfer over to service provider, you're about 20% of the way. Closer to 15. So it's a large stretch. So actually, one of the things that I'm doing, and I've mentioned a little bit in the beginning of the video about my own training company and starting a training site again. So the big thing that I'm looking at doing is trying to take very complicated areas of study and trying to break them up so that they're not as difficult. So for example, I have every intention of creating content around do a CCNA. I want to do like the CCST, which if we look over here, what that means is if we go to certifications, and we look at so my goal here, CCST, the Cisco certified, what is this? Oh, support technician. I couldn't remember what the S stood for. So I'm going to be doing some content around this, a dedicated CCNA course, CCNP Enterprise for Encore and NARCI, some design, SD-WAN, all that type of stuff. And then do the same thing for service provider, so the areas that I have expertise in. So do CCNP and service provider as well. And then enterprise infrastructure. And the goal would be to build off of each one. So I would focus on the specifics. So CCST is going to be a heavy focus in theory and just basic core networking concepts. CCNA would pick up where the CCST left off. NP Enterprise is going to pick up where CCNA left off of. Enterprise Infrastructure is going to pick up off of where CCNP Enterprise left off. So it won't be a brand new series, set of videos for this plus this, and then a brand new set of videos for this and this. It'll be picking up where the other one left off, because that's where you try to need to be efficient. And then if you need to add additional content down the road based off of questions and things like that, that's where you would, ad hoc add content where you need it to do. Same thing with service provider. What I would probably do is, based off your question, is I would probably start off with CCNP Enterprise, and then I would flip over to service provider and be like, okay, we already know OSPF, so we're not going to redo OSPF on iOS. We're just going to have an XR specific set of videos for that. We dive into iOS XR and how we deploy OSPF there, and then any other content that we need to be specific to bring you up to the CCNP level of OSPF on XR, or the CCNP level of, or specifically on XR, to bring you up to that level on that particular technology. Because the theory doesn't change, right? It's just how the syntax is implemented on XR. And then dive into, say, IS to IS. And then we'll do a deep dive into BGP, and then MPLS and VPNs and segment routing and all that type of stuff. And eventually get to the CCIE level, and where we go through and dig into the details of that. That's my goal with that. So I also would do probably some enterprise wireless. I have a controller down in the basement. I can go get some access points going, and we can do some basic wireless. So that's the direction I see myself going with that. But if I was going to start off with going from CCNP Enterprise to CCIE Service Provider, I would start you off, make sure that you're rock solid on everything on core and in RC, and then I would add in iOS XR, bring yourself up to speed. So let's say you're here with iOS and iOS XE. Any of the topics that are routing specific, I would start digging into iOS XR for OSPF, EIGRP, BGP. You really can't do DMVPN, but you can do a very basic layer 3 VPN. So if you can do all those things, OSPF, EIGRP, BGP, basic MPLS VPN on iOS XR, then you're ready to say, okay, now we're even across the board with those 4 technology areas. Now with iOS and XR together in a shared topology, let's start tackling IS to IS. And then we'll start diving into advanced MPLS, layer 2 VPN, layer 3 VPN, inter-AS VPN, multicast VPN, so on and so forth. So that's what I would do, so that it would get you more up to speed in the area that you need to care about and the technologies behind that. So you're not trying to relearn everything and you're going, oh, this is really boring, but I'm here to do it. You know what I mean? So hopefully that answers that question. Is it essential to study servers, as in MCSA or as a network engineer after a professional level, or if you do a implementation role? Now, I will say for the sake of argument that I plan, one thing that's not on my whiteboard is Microsoft. So I want to go, Azure is up there for cloud, but one thing I think is really, really important to know is not everything goes in the cloud. So I have every intention of going through, I think it was the latest version of Microsoft out, Microsoft Server 2022. So what I would go do is, if I was going to start learning servers, I would immediately go download whatever the enterprise equivalent to Microsoft Server 2022 is. I would download that, throw that into a hypervisor, and I would start playing around with how to do Active Directory, group policy, what are all the different whiz-bang wow capabilities out there. I'm sure there's some documentation online. I would start going through that. Now I know the MCSA isn't a thing anymore because they moved everything to the cloud, but I would learn the server platform first, because to me that should translate well once you get into the cloud and you start doing your Azure servers and things like that. It should correlate. Now I could be wrong on that, but I would learn Windows Server 2022 as the server platform itself without it being in the cloud, to the best of my ability. So that's the direction I would go. All right, so I'm going to stop there because we're at 40 minutes already, and I talked a little bit longer than I planned on. But that's where I'm going with that. Don't forget that tonight we are having a Ask Me Anything, or I'm sorry, Whiteboard Wednesday. So that'll be kicking off here in a few hours. We'll probably go for about an hour on that. Friday, I'm still doing the members-only coaching session. So if anybody is interested in that, they can join me Friday night at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. There is going to be a Teams link there for anybody that's a member of the channel. And I also posted that in Patreon. So you guys should have, at least I'm pretty sure I did, my page. So I did coaching session. Yeah, so what I'll do is I'll probably have to add in there the link to the coaching session for that. But we're still a couple days out from that, so I'm not too worried about that. So that's what you guys get to do. And so in the description below, I will have a link to the Patreon for the $10 a month if you want to do the gain access to the membership channel or membership for the coaching sessions, as well as topology files and diagrams and things like that. The sample workbook Google Drive link, the workbook link will be in the page for Patreon, will be there as well, and all that type of stuff. So if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, feedback, drop that in the comment section below. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll catch all of you in the next one. Have a good one, everybody.